Hello everyone. I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today we are going to talk about how I wrote Absent Ventriloquist. So first things first, this is one of my art books that I put together with my co-editor of Cloud Orchid Publishing, Bryan Thompson. Now, this is one of our art books that we put together where it features my writing and Bryan's photography, as well as I'm actually the model in these photos. Bryan and I took these photos together at Shea Korea's photography studio in Appleton, Wisconsin, many moons ago. We had a blast doing it, and the entire premise of this particular art book is talking about mental illness, which is a common theme for a lot of the art books that I've helped to create. As well, it is a topic that I explore in some of my short stories and novels, but this one really puts it on full blast. And the particular subtopic of mental illness that Absent Ventriloquist tackles is a lot of the issues that are caused by bullying. So first things first, unfortunately, I experienced some very extreme bullying when I was in junior high. Our junior high was only 7th and 8th grade. Our elementary school was kindergarten through 6th grade, and then we had junior high was 7th and 8th grade, and then we had your typical high school, which was freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And so this junior high, again, this is way back in the day, y'all. I graduated high school in 2006, so y'all do the math. I was 12 to 13 and then 13 to 14 in junior high. And this is how it was back then. Maybe things have changed. I hope things have changed, but I need y'all to take this with the grain of salt of the time period this happened in, and I know that things in the world are very rapidly different in some good ways and some bad ways. So, that being said, I unfortunately experienced some very extreme bullying, meaning that I was physically assaulted on a daily basis, and I have permanent psychological and physical damage because of it. And because of this extreme bullying, to the point that I actually was threatened in 8th grade by one of my bullies, and this was shortly after Columbine happened, that she was going to bring a gun to school and kill me. And this was back before this whole movement of school shootings and things like that really got taken seriously. And when I went to the school authorities with this information, they did not take me seriously. So just to give you all some background information on how exactly all of this was treated really illustrates why this has so incredibly impacted me. Even to this day as an adult, there are still some things that I struggle with because of these 2 years of my life. And so that's what this book tackles, is it tackles some of the things that I dealt with during that time period, as well as how I have dealt with that in later years and also as an adult. And I do this through actual journal entries that I wrote during that time period, as well as I have some short stories written that are just about different aspects of the mental illness that is caused by severe trauma. And the big thing is PTSD. That's the big one that people think about when they think about trauma, and that is addressed in this art book. However, I also tackle some of the other consequences that are less known about, as well as they're not exactly something that if you have trauma, then this will happen. This was specific to me, that because I had trauma in that type of trauma, and this is what happened to me. So what I'm referring to specifically is lucid dreaming. And for those of y'all that don't know what lucid dreaming is, it is where you actually are aware that you're in a dream while you're sleeping, and then you're able to control what happens in that dream. And I actually became addicted to lucid dreaming. And in this book, I actually do talk about the dangers of lucid dreaming. Now, lucid dreaming can be a wonderful, great tool, or it can just be a lot of fun, a lot of harmless fun. However, the purpose that I was using it for was dangerous. in that I was using it as a form of escapism. And one of the dangers of if you use it for that reason, it can actually leak into when you're awake, and the line between when you're awake and when you're asleep begins to blur. And this, coupled with the PTSD that I have from these 2 years, there are actually large chunks of my memory that I don't actively remember. Now, my brain remembers these things, and every once in a while I am triggered and I do remember things that have been long since repressed, and that's always super horrible when that happens. But there's a lot of just holes in that timeline that if I were to sit here and try, it's just a big blank space, and I don't remember. And a big part of that is because my lines of reality were blurred along with my brain just trying to protect me. And what that looks like is that there were days that I went through my school day where I wasn't there. Nobody was home. I was physically walking to and from my classes, going and physically going through the motions of taking notes, turning things in, things like that, but I physically wasn't there. By the time I rode the school bus home, I couldn't tell you what classes I had that day, what I learned in those classes, who I talked to. Well, I didn't talk to anybody, so that was an easy answer, but just, any sort of details, the whole, what did you do at school today? I have no idea, was pretty much the answer for a lot of those days. But I could tell you what I was lucid dreaming about while I was physically walking around school, which usually involved things like princesses and unicorns and fairies and things like that. So that was what I was experiencing during those school days, in order to literally escape from what I was dealing with. And I'm not really going to go into a lot of detail about what I physically dealt with because it's extremely triggering. It's just extremely violent and unnecessary. But just to give you all an idea, I was physically assaulted every day. I had bruises all over my body most of the time. I have bone shards in my neck from my vertebrae being cracked. And also just some of the things that these different bullies would say to me on a daily basis, additionally just caused severe psychological damage. And one of the triggers that I have, that all of the people who are close to me know, is do not sneak up on me. I have in my adult years learned to physically control myself, as in the past I would actually hit people if they snuck up on me, and it was a knee-jerk reaction because I was terrified and I was used to being snuck up on and physically assaulted. Now, I still have that absolute terror response, but I have been able to make strides in controlling myself where I don't physically respond. I don't hit people, I don't hurt people in that terror response, but it is still a terror response. So, to give you all an idea of the severity, it was really, really bad. And what made it worse was that the authority figures did nothing and also told me it was my fault that these things happened to me. The whole, well, you must have done something to make them angry at you. Well, maybe they just want to be your friend. Well, they probably have a hard home life and they're just taking it out on you. Just all of the excuses. I literally heard all of those excuses those 2 years, y'all. And on top of it, I was told that if I ever fought back, that I could possibly be not just detention, but get suspended for defending myself. So, yeah, that caused so many problems for me. And a lot of that stuff is addressed in this book. And I do go into detail in some of the incidents that did happen to me in this book. So this book is very much not for the faint of heart, y'all. So I just want to put that out there, that this entire video and that entire art book have a very healthy trigger warning on them, that this is not for everybody. If you have trauma like that, I do not recommend you read this art book unless you want to utilize it in some way in order to help you process your own trauma. But it's basically, I always, when people pick up this book and look at it, I always make sure that people understand what they're about to read so that I don't traumatize anybody. As well as this book does feature artistic nudes. So all of the pictures are artistic nudes, and they are done in an artistic way where they're all in black and white, and it was the idea of using the human form to just create these very weird and grotesque shapes and figures and things like that. So it's just a lot of movement with the body that's just very awkward and strange, and just holding limbs in odd ways and things like that. So it's very much, the entire project is meant to be very jarring and very in your face and just very raw, to kind of just capture the spirit of that experience that I had in my life. So doing this project was very cathartic for me, being able to speak my truth and once and for all say, these things happened to me, and one, it was not my fault, and two, it was not okay, and three, in my adult years, I have made incredible, amazing strides in order to make my daily life better and to deal with these things that happen to me in a healthy way. Does that mean I'm cured? No, there is no such thing as being cured of PTSD or being cured of trauma. That's not a thing, unfortunately. But am I able to be a far more healthy and functional adult? Yes, indeed I am. So that's all about this particular art book. It is very much a statement piece. It is me speaking my truth. It is not for the faint of heart. But if you are still interested and very much want to explore this type of subject matter, I highly recommend that you check it out, because it is definitely a roller coaster ride reading this one, y'all. So I want to thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please be sure to give it a like, and if you're new, subscribe. Alright, y'all, thank y'all so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.